An employee walked up to a woman and then handed her a glass of juice. At that moment, the woman shows her that she was asking for help, which makes the employee very surprised. The woman then handed a note to the employee, and at that moment, the man who was next to the woman asked the employee to fetch something for him. When the employee left, the man told the woman that when the employee left, he would continue to do to her what they were doing, but the woman desperately said she didn't want to do that again. He then said he wasn't asking for permission to continue what they were doing. Meanwhile, the employee was fetching a cup of coffee for the man, and at that moment he started screaming, asking her to hurry up. She then took the cup of coffee to the man and told him that she would need to leave for a brief moment as she was going to settle some matters. She said she would be back soon to get on with her business, but the man told her she wouldn't have to come back that day because he would be able to sort out the affairs of her home on his own. She then insists, saying that she would come back to finish her work, but the man said that he wanted to be alone with his wife, as since her mother died, they had been closer. She again tried to insist, saying that she needed to go back to finish her work, but he tells her to leave and not come back that day. Outside, she finally got to see what was written on the note, and it was a note telling her to call the police. Meanwhile, the man was telling his stepdaughter that they were going to continue what they were doing before they were interrupted. The woman then proceeds to tell the man that she didn't want to continue doing it, but he told her that they should be closer now that her mother is gone. At this point, the employee came back to the man and said she needed to talk to him about something. He asked her what she wanted to talk about, and she said she was smelling a strong smell of gas coming out of the kitchen. He told her to go to the kitchen to see what was going on, and then she leaves. When she left, the man again told the woman that now they would continue what they had started. Meanwhile, the clerk was in the kitchen and she started saying that she wasn't going to let any harm happen to the woman. She then started looking for some things that she could use against the man. She manages to find a pot and then goes back to where the man and woman were. The woman was telling the man that she didn't want to do that again, and then the employee tries to hit the man with the pot, but he realizes something was going on. He then asked what had happened, and the clerk said a window was open in the kitchen, and the man told her to close the window and leave. He then told her to leave, and as she was leaving, she started saying that she couldn't leave the woman in that situation without doing anything, but that she didn't know what she could do. Meanwhile, the man was telling the woman that he just wanted to be by her side for a while, but she said she didn't want to be by his side. He then insists that they should go to the bedroom, and when she says she didn't want to, he forces her to do what he wanted. Meanwhile, the clerk was trying to figure out what she was going to do, and then she went to another man who was standing nearby. She said she needed his help, but he said unfortunately he was working and couldn't help. She then said she needed the other man's cell phone to call the police, but another man tells her she should use her own phone. She then says she couldn't do that because she didn't have a phone. She went in, started telling the other man that she needed his help, because in that house there was a man who was doing something very terrible to a woman. He asked her if she was sure about that, and she said yes. She said she needed him to come to the house to distract the man while she called the police. She then said she would give him a lot of money for his help, and then he said he would help, but she said he needed to help her before he would give the money. Meanwhile, the man was taking the woman to the bedroom, and then he asked her why she was acting that way. She then said that she didn't want to do what he was asking of her. He then insists, saying that now she needed to do what he was asking, but she said she didn't want to do what he was asking of her. He then proceeds to say that now that her mother is gone, she would have to take her place, as he had his own desires and his wife was no longer there to fulfill those wishes. When the man was about to go to the woman, she said she needed to go to the bathroom first. He agrees and then told her to hurry up, and then she goes to the bathroom. While the woman was inside the bathroom, she began to cry, saying that she really wanted her mother to be there so she could help with that situation. She said that she couldn't stand that situation she was suffering anymore because of her mother's husband, because she didn't want to go through that anymore. At this point, the other man goes to the house and realizes that the door was locked. He then manages to open the door and goes to the room where the man was. He manages to enter the room without the man noticing that he was there, and then he goes to the bathroom so he can help the woman. When he enters the bathroom, he begins to explain to the woman what had happened, where he was working and a lady came to him asking for help, and now he was there to help the girl. She thanks the man for his help, and then he starts saying that he would never let anything happen to the woman and that he was there to help her. He said that he was going to need her help and that she was going to have to be very brave to be able to get out of that situation. He then asked her if she understood what he was saying and then proceeded to explain the plan he had for the girl. Meanwhile, the lady was going after a police officer who was sleeping in her car. She then managed to wake up the officer and said she needed her help, but the officer said she was unable to help at that time. The lady then proceeded to tell the officer that she urgently needed her help and then proceeded to explain what was going on. She told the police that in that house she was having a very complicated situation, where a piece was abusing a girl. The officer then said that the woman didn't need to worry about it because she was sure it was a fake call and that they didn't need to worry. The lady then told the officer that she is sure that this was not a false situation, because she was present and was sure that it was real. She then said that she could give a lot of money to the policeman, but the policewoman said that she didn't want the money, that she just wanted to rest. At that point, the woman starts saying that she was seeing the man, and then she ends up taking the officer's cell phone and walking away. The officer then starts running after the woman, but she can't catch up with the woman. The lady then managed to go to the house where the man was and told the officer to run after her as she wouldn't get her phone back if she didn't hurry. Meanwhile, the man was surprised, as he had thought that the woman needed to go to the bathroom. She then told him that she didn't want to do it anymore, but he told her that she needed to pay for everything he had done for her. He then becomes furious, saying that she needed to repay everything he did for her. While he was telling her that she needed to repay everything he did for her or another man, he would walk out of the bathroom slowly, without the man realizing he was there. He then picked up the pot the lady had given him and hit the man on the head with it, causing him to pass out. They then take the opportunity to flee from there, and meanwhile, the woman was going upstairs to the room to show the officer what was happening, but the officer manages to arrest her and told her that she would no longer run away from her. At that moment, the other man appears, and then the officer asked what was going on. The other man said that inside that room there was a man who had tried to do something very bad to that girl. The officer then asked if that was really true. Then the other man said yes, and the officer entered the room. The woman then asked the girl if everything was okay, and she said yes. Later, the officer was taking the man away, and meanwhile, the man was telling the girl that he would come back for her. As he leaves, the woman begins to tell the girl that she would never let anything bad happen to her and that she would fight alongside the girl to get the man to spend the rest of his life in jail. The girl then proceeds to say that she was very grateful to the woman for everything she had done, and says that if the woman didn't help her, she didn't want to be able to get out of that situation. Meanwhile, the man was very angry, saying that he would be back soon. The woman then told the other man that she was grateful and tried to give him the money, but he said he didn't want the money and that he had done it just to help. He then said that he just wanted them to speak well of his company, so he would get more customers. The woman said that everyone in the neighborhood would want to work with this man because he was so honest. He then said that now that that situation was over, he was thinking of becoming a police officer. The woman said that they reconnect an excellent police officer as he was a very good person.